is up, my Shadowverse soldiers, and welcome back to another Shadowverse Evolved video. Alright everyone, welcome back to another Market Watch Wednesday. We made it to Wednesday. I'm glad you guys are all here. So let's go ahead and figure out what cards have changed from last week into this week of Wednesday, because we only have like a couple more weeks until the new set comes out, and we have pre-orders, and pre-order prices are going to be absolutely ridiculous, and then when the set drops, it's just going to see a huge drop off. So let's go ahead and look at the first card. Alright, and the first card we're going to be looking at is Agnes, and this card is I really don't know how to feel about this card, because every time I've played it, it's been focused, like it just gets sniped, or when I evolve it, it gets surefired. Like, this card does not stick, but when you do use it for the evolve to get that one spell back, you use a spell, and then potentially, you just get that spell back, whatever it is, either that for the Uma deck or just for Runecraft. The fact that it can go in both those decks feels pretty strong, and I feel like it's sitting at $35 is a little insane, but this card is very good. Another thing I wanted to talk about is thank you guys for helping me with the Merlin situation. I was so confused, and the fact that I just literally forgot that Kuan is literally the age of Runecraft, it just blows me away, because I'm just such a huge Runecraft fanboy, so I would think I would know the age of Runecraft. But I'm learning along with you guys that watch my content, that just love the English version of the game and doesn't really look into the future sets, just come as we take it. So the age of Kuan, if you don't know what it is where Runecraft is going to be at its strongest, I believe. Not in the future, but I feel like Runecraft isn't very strong right now, but once Kuan drops and, Giant Chimera and everything else, I really don't know what the card does all the way, but I know it's going to be the age of Runecraft, so I'm looking forward to that. But getting back to the cards, Agnes is sitting at around $35 just for one, and that's pretty insane. But the fact that you can either rock Uma or rock this in any Runecraft deck that you want to, this will be pretty fine. So let's go ahead and figure out what her Evo costs. Alright, so looking at the Agnes Evo, she's sitting at around $10, and other people are selling her for around $10, $11, $12. This is pretty nice, but it looks like you're going to be spending around $30, $35 for a full set of Agnes, and that's not even counting just the regular version of her. You're going to be, paying at least $100, $125, $50 out of pocket just to get an Agnes like full set. So if you don't already have them, I would say maybe potentially pick them up. It's kind of weird being in like the card market, because it's like, stocks in a way. Like, do I buy while it's high before it gets any higher, or do I wait for it to go down and then buy? There's always that gamble, because I definitely did that when it came to the Alice in Wonderland, and I definitely did not pay off well, because she's staying at a decent price. Speaking of Alice, let's go ahead and check up and see how she's doing. Alright, so we're finally getting over into Alice, and I see that she's dropped at least like a little bit just from last week, but that's only the one seller. See if you guys can get a hookup from some people on like some other sites. And also, leave a comment down below if you want to see other versions of, prices like that through eBay and stuff like that, so we can go ahead and take a picture and look through that. But back to Alice, we're seeing that she's still sitting around $32. That's a normal price. So, one guy's selling her for $29. That's not bad. But, as far as you get down, she's getting around to the $35 era. And, as I'm going to preach this until the wheels fall off, that you're going to need Alice. If you're going to be rocking any of the Fable decks, the fact that this looks at the top 10% of your deck, to just find a Fable follower and put it into your EX area is just pretty nice. And if the Fable line goes on into set 4, 5, 6, whatever, on into the future, this card is going to be more volatile to the deck. So go ahead and pick them up while they're low, or, it might even get lower in the future. I can't say, because I am not a time traveler, so I will not know. And another thing that really surprised me was the Valiant Fencer drop-off. This card was sitting at around $21 last week, and if you didn't pick him up last week, then you should definitely pick him up this week, because this card is slowly going down. Or if you want to wait, because Hero Sword is one of those decks, because it's kind of like Aggro Abyss, if you draw the right hand, you're going to really steamroll your opponent. But if you don't draw the right hand and you really gas out, it's one of those decks where it's like, hey, I have a strong early game, or really even stronger mid game. If I get Leonidas, then I get Leonidas, but if you don't, then it really doesn't have a really good end game. So, pick up Valiant Fencer now if you want to, or if you want to wait and see if it'll drop off into $10. You're free to do whatever you guys want to do. So this card was definitely sitting at around $20. You can see that, and it being at 16. And just to show you that there's multiple listings of it being under $20, I'd say pick up the cards. But at the same time, you know, there's only different shops selling only one of them, and then, you know, they have the one shop that's selling 9. So, but they all still go for around $16-17, so I would pick them up if you want to. So just to check up on Olivia again, because this is still an awesome and vital card. This card is still sitting at around $34-35. I do remember this card being at $40. I'm not sure when exactly it was, but I know this card was at 40, so it looks like it's slowly going down. I mean, Dark Angel Olivia is very good, but I feel like as we go on into further sets, she might be a little outdated. I'm not sure. I'm just going off of what happens with Dragon Ball. Like, these big boss monster cards are good for these couple of sets, and then as we get into deeper sets, these better cards come out. I'm not sure, but you know, I'm hoping Dark Angel Olivia still has a solid place in my heart because she's such a beautiful card and she has such an amazing ability. Another card I wanted to, you know, shine some light on is Riko Kashimoto. For anybody who's playing dragons or, you know, decks that don't have really solid removal or stuff like that. You know, this is a pretty good card, and it being at $16, I think they finally understand that we only need one of it in the deck. I don't think any other deck runs more than one. Not to my knowledge, but we only need one of it in the deck. So looking at it, it's sitting at around $17. So, I mean, you only have to spend $17 once just for one of them. Just make sure you don't lose the card or it gets lost in the mail or anything like that. This card was sitting at 15, so it might go down a little bit, but with the influx of dragon players just topping at events, I don't feel like this card's gonna go down, and the more time she's popped up in the list, then she's probably gonna go up. So I believe, you know, $16, $17 isn't too bad. 15, I don't know if it's gonna get any lower, but this is still a good card to pick up just to have in your collection, just for any future references where it's like, hey, you know, if you destroy a follower, you can do extra damage or something like that. This is the perfect card. All right, so quick little overview for these like smaller cards. We have Ogre Cap still sitting at around $14. We still have Merlin sitting at $16, and I just want to go ahead and say, if you don't have Merlins, go ahead and pick them up now, because this is going to be the era of Runecraft coming into set 4. I know Kuwan is the real era, but I feel like this is set 4 is really where Runecraft starts to get its engines together. You know, people are going to be rocking that giant chimera if you played the CCG. I was around when the giant chimera was a thing, and I was like, oh, this card is absolutely broken. So the fact that there's just a card that can just burn you for the rest of your life is just so good. So if you're a Runecraft follower like myself, then go ahead and pick up your Merlins while they're the price that they are now, because by the time we get into the Kuwan and the Giant Chimera era, this card's gonna be ludicrous. So go ahead and pick them up now. Now, I don't know if you watched the Mayutaria video. I'll put a link up here if you guys want to watch it. But surely enough, there was definitely a question where I was like, is this the most expensive leader? Well, taking the fact that there were no listings for this leader, I feel like this leader was a little common. I don't know what these characters are. I'm so sorry. I have not watched Uma, but I am a huge Shadowverse fan, so don't forget that. But this is one of the leaders that I saw. I was like, okay, is this the most expensive leader? And that is not true. The other leader that I believe is the most expensive is the Manhattan Cafe. All right, this is the Manhattan Cafe leader. This is sitting at 140. I really just did not expect this leader to be so expensive. I'm pretty sure I went over it in last week's video, but like I said, I did not expect this leader to be so expensive. I pulled this and I didn't think too much of it. I mean, it's a nice card and everything, so I think this must be the other card that you were able to pull out of the Abysscraft version of the Uma leaders. And I feel like this might have been the lower rarity of it because it's so expensive. I honestly thought Kawakami Princess was the most expensive because she was so rare, you barely saw her, but that is not the case. Manhattan seems to be the most rare because that's why she's so expensive. Unless you guys can come up with a reason in the comment section why she's so expensive to let me know. I would love it when you guys interact with me. I love you guys so much. So if you have an answer or know the reason, let me know down below. All right, to all my Runecraft followers out there, this is a major alert. So Daria's at $3 right now, so go ahead and pick her up. If you're going to be running any sort of the new Giant Chimera deck, then this is the card that's really going to put the synergy together. So this card's at $3 right now. Go ahead and pick it up. If you don't already have 3, you run 3 of it just for the consistency. But, you know, at the same time, this card is very clunky to have in your hand in Runecraft, so, you know, take it with a grain of salt. But I believe this card is definitely going to go up in price. It probably might sit at like maybe $5. Who knows? But, you know, it being at $3 right now isn't bad. because that's why that's probably Darkside is literally the runecraft of like the shops, it seems, because they were holding all the Agneses, and the Agneses are, you know, the price that they're at, and they're probably going to be sitting good once Daria and Set 4 comes together. All right, another card I wanted to look at was the Alice Evo U. So the alt art for the Alice is pretty expensive. It sits at around $150, that's the market price, but it looks like it went up from like $130. That's what it was last week. So it went up $10, and that's kind of what it's setting at, as $140. So if you have your Alices, you know, you could flip them for some money, or you could keep them to have as a precious jewel, you know, whatever you want to do with the card, because it belongs to you. But yeah, that's all I really saw that changed throughout this past week. Nothing else jumped out at me. You know, the Alice Evo is still sitting at 23, and then Alice went down a little bit to a 30. And then we have all this other pitch posh that, you know, doesn't really matter, you know, just for aesthetics, for everything else, you know, that being the U's, you know, the Lilacs, or, you know, either the SP Witch of Calamity Millie Parfait, or, you know, the really shiny leader. It's just very expensive stuff you don't need, and that's not what we're focusing on. Well, alright guys, that is the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. You don't know how much it means that you're still up here watching every Market Watch Wednesday that I'll be putting out. I'm glad it got so much traction that it did last week, and I'm glad you're here for another week. Alright, make sure you're safe in whatever you do tonight, and safe whatever you do for the rest of the year. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.
I gave you all my love, baby, my heart is cold when you're around. You warm it up, liquid gold, baby, yeah, you warm it up, liquid gold, baby, and my affection, all that paper you wasted. Take my love.